Hi, we are going to discuss about this vertical known as Ansel or the client known as Ansel. We do this cloning once in a month and it's a multi-node architecture. So multi-node means the database is on one tier and the application is on another tier. I hope you have remembered the definition of tier. We have discussed it in the first tutorial. So what is the first step that we do while we get a request for cloning? First, in the beginning, the client reads a ticket or there's a mail to start the clone instance, to start the cloning process. So the first thing that we do is to scrap the test instance. I repeat, scrap the test instance. Before scrapping the test instance, please perform the following tasks. So what are the tasks that we perform before scrapping? Please note that the backup has completed successfully and has been properly copied by the client in the test instance. So what does it mean? We do this clone by hot backup. The backup should complete successfully the previous backup. There should not be any errors in the backup, and we need to inform the client to copy the backup from the production environment to the test environment. The next thing we need to check is that take all the application information and the database information like the location of the IS Oracle Home, Apple Top, etc. And for the database, make sure you have the location of CRD files, SP file and the control file trace. So this task we are doing it on the test environment because we are going to scrap the test environment. And the backup, what we are doing is that the backup is scheduled on production. So we make sure that the production backup is completed successfully and it should be copied by the client. The next thing we are noting on the test environment is the site name, the Java color and the number of processes in the managers, and it should reflect the same after cloning. Taking a backup of the context file, this is really important. Now we can scrap the test instance. Before scrapping the test instance, we need to bring down the application and the database. And after bringing down the application, we can remove the apps folder. It's R12. So we have the apps folder. And we need to do the same with the database after bringing down the DB. So what we're doing is that removing the data directory where CRD files are there. So all this are being done in the test environment. The only thing we need to make sure before proceeding with cloning is that we have logged into the correct instance. This removal of the apps directory is the rm-rf command. So please note, before firing the rm-rf command, you should make sure that you have logged into the correct instance, the correct database, and then fire the rm-rf. After scrapping the test instance, so now we need to log into the production environment, that is the prod, and we need to run pre-clone on both the sides, that is on the database as well as the application. This has been done. So now what we're doing is that we're doing the copy portion. So on this server, that is 0.23, we have the production, and this server we have the test. So what we are doing is that we are copying the backup data folder, that is the CRD files backup, from the prod to the test environment, that is data nsdiv db abstract. So the production backup is being copied from the server 0.23 to server 3.3. And also at the same time we need to copy the apps clone directory that we got after running the pre-clone, the prod to the test environment. And on the application, we are copying the entire apps folder from the prod application server to the test application server. So what are the things that have been done? We have finished with scrapping of the test instance by keeping an information of important files location and also taking a backup of context file. The next thing we have copied the data folder from the production to the test. We have copied the clone directory, and also we have copied the entire apps directory from the prod to the test. After the copy portion has been done, cross-check that the size and the number of files are same. Next, In the test environment, we need to log into SQL and start up and fire the command startup no mount. This means instance is created, parameter file is read and provides name and locations of data files. After that, we need to log into the production and take a control file backup. That is, alter database backup control file to trace and the location. After the production control file trace is taken, so this is taken because it helps to read the control file in human readable format. So after it is taken, we need to transfer the prod control file trace to the test instance and make necessary changes. So what are the necessary changes we need to make? We need to change the locations because the locations will reflect of prod. So we need to give the necessary location of the test. We need to read no reset logs to reset logs, and we need to make the changes at set control file. Now we need to create the control file. Database is in no mount stage and we need to execute this control file. However, while executing it in our instance, we get an error. The reason why we get an error, and the error says that control file already there. The reason why we get an error, since the client has copied the control file, so we need to make sure we need to take the backup of control file. So what does it mean? So we inform the client to copy the CRD files, that is the control file, data files and the redo log files from the test to the prod, from the prod to the test. And the control files are already there. So when we are recreating the control file, it shows an error, control files are there. What we did, we took the backup of the control file and then we have executed that control file SQL. And database and the control file got created and database is startup in mount stage. After database is in mount stage, we need to fire the command recover database using backup control file. So here the recovery will start. So what does it mean and what does it do exactly? We know that the control file is the heart of the database. Control file has all the updated information. If some transactions are occurring, it gets recorded on the data files as well as it gets reflected on control files. But we have previous data files that don't have the updated information. So the SCN information in the header of the data file does not match with the SCN in the control file. It checks the SCN of the control file is in sync with the SCN of the header of the data file. So there is a mismatch. So that's the reason what it does, it asks for the archives. So we need to create the control file. While we're creating the control file, it comes from the archive. And we need to transfer the archive from the prod to the test. So Oracle applies the necessary redo logs to reconstruct the restored data files. So while we are firing the command recover database using backup control file, it prompts for the archive, and after it prompts for the archive, we need to transfer the archive from the prod to the test. And at last, what happens? We need to give recover database using backup control file using cancel, or its recovery will complete. After the recovery process is done, we need to open the database in open and reset logs, alter database open reset logs. The next thing is that once database is in open state, add temporary files or create temporary tablespace. This is really important. Here in our scenario, I'm creating one temporary tablespace and making it default. So create temporary tablespace name, and we made it default also. The database is in open state, alter database open reset logs. And after that, after the new temporary tablespace is created, we need to drop the other temporary tablespaces. The post clone activity would be, we need to connect to apps and fire the command execute fnd clone setup clean. So what does it do? It cleans the fnd nodes table, it cleans the concurrent manager table, running autoconfig and then starting up the listener. So this is the process that we follow for database, and in depth I have discussed about the database cloning in my database tutorial. In case if you get a chance to say about this in an interview, you can say this process. Now for the application, we have copied the app folder and we went to command top clone bin and fired the command perl adcfg apps tier and the backup location. So this is the reason we have the reason for having the backup of the context file. Now, if we don't have the backup of the context file, it prompts for questions like, is it the correct apple top, is it the correct common top? We need to give the locations manually. In our scenario, since we have the backup location, it doesn't prompt for the questions and the application clone is done. After the application clone is done, we need to follow the post-clone step before releasing it to the client. So the post-clone step will be the changing of app password. We have already discussed the process of changing of app password in the previous tutorial. After changing the app password, the next thing we need to do is that we need to change the site name. It's really important, and the navigation is the system profile site name, and the site name we normally give as test name and the today whatever the date on which we are performing the cloning. And we also change the Java color, that is the system profile and Java color. So this is the process that we follow for one vertical known as ANSYL in cloning. The cloning is a hot backup and it's a multi-node architecture. It means database on one tier and application on another tier, and it's in R12. So the process is simple. We do the backup by recover database using backup control file, and while we fire, it prompts for the archive. We give the archive from the prod to the test, and for the application we fire perl atcfg clone.pl after. So this is all about the cloning. Thank you.